Hello, Freedom Nation. It's Jeff here once again with another episode of the Freedom Nation podcast. On today's show, I interview Manuj Aggarwal. He is an expert in AI, and he has a really interesting story starting out in India, basically working as a factory worker for his father and teaching himself and learning computer programming, which led him to become an expert in the world of AI, where he's worked all over the world for Fortune 500 companies. So stay tuned to the show. We'll see you on the other side.
All in you. Everything you're looking for, it's all in you. You gotta believe that it's all in you. Everything you're searching for, it's all in you.
Hello, Freedom Nation. It's Jeff here once again with another episode of the Freedom Nation podcast. In today's show, I have Manuj Aggarwal on. He is an expert in artificial intelligence, and he's got a really interesting story of how he got from India to Canada and went from working in a factory to being a sought after consultant helping implement artificial intelligence. So Manuj, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Glad to have you on. I'm looking forward to hearing your story again. So let's kick us off. Why don't you tell the folks about your story and how you got to where you're at today?
Yeah, sure. So as you said, I grew up in India, and most people can recognize the accent. I grew up in a small town, and there were very limited opportunities. This we are talking about 30 years ago, and India was still a developing country. And being in a small town in a developing country, you don't get a lot of opportunities. So my career started at 15 working in a factory. And one evening or afternoon, I was going through some business magazines, reading success stories of these tycoons who made empires starting from nothing. And
Yeah.
I think that was the seed of a very powerful inspiration, because I started thinking, okay, if these people can change their life, like what is wrong with me? Why can't I change my life?
Yeah.
And at that time, obviously, you don't actually know what actually happened, what changed in your mind, but it started creating some thoughts in my mind that, okay, I need to acquire a high value skill so that I
Okay.
can create more value in the world. And that led me to learning about software and technology and computers. And it was not easy for me to acquire all that knowledge. Even the computer course I enrolled in, the fee was more than what I used to make in a year. It used to be
Yeah.
like, it took me a couple of years to get that. And then it turned out like once I got in, I was really good at it. I enjoyed it. I was spending countless nights just programming and building value. And that was the start of my career. And then came over to Canada. This was the dot-com boom time around 1998, 99. I got
Sure.
a job quickly, but then dot-com bust happened, September 11th happened, then Gulf War started. So during that period, I lost 3 or 4 jobs within 2 years. So I was like, okay, this job security thing doesn't work. Doesn't matter whether you're in North America or any other country. So which led me to start my consulting company. I said, okay, if I'm going to be like uncertain, might as well start my company and start helping more clients.
I'll
So
be uncertain, but I'll be in control of my life at least.
exactly, yeah. That was like a good blessing in disguise. I
Mm.
started working with multiple clients and helped many startups build their technology. And then I started working with Fortune 500 clients. So I worked with Microsoft, Pearson Education. We built systems which scaled globally. Like, it generated hundreds of millions in revenue per
Mm.
year. And going from startups, working with these Fortune 500s, I saw the gamut of like how business works, digital business in this economy. So
Mm.
I started getting deeper into technology, artificial intelligence, blockchain. All of these things were really good. But then I was having a lot of problems at home with my ex-spouse and my relationship with my kids, with my parents. So all of these personal challenges made me depressed, and I almost became suicidal at one point.
Mm.
And that was a wake up call for me. I was like, okay, what am I doing with my life? Like, all this professional success is not going to lead to any fulfillment if I'm not happy, which led me to like meditation and learning about my own mind and how our reality is affected by ourselves. And so, as I was unpacking our human mind, our psychology, I was also understanding the impact of AI, and not
Yeah.
only AI in a sense of, okay, what can AI do to help business or automate things, but also how does the human mind get affected by AI and vice versa? Because if we
Interesting.
see around us, yeah, our lives are controlled by the information we consume, and the information we consume on daily basis, starting from social media to even like the podcasts we are recommended, or videos we watch online, or advertisements that we are shown, everything is actually controlled by AI. So when you start to put all these pieces together, you start to think, oh, AI is not just a technology, it's a way of, it's almost like a way of life, it's almost like a
Mm.
foundation of a society, almost like the internet now, right?
Yeah.
So when I started noticing all this, then I started thinking, okay, so AI is causing a lot of anxiety in people, a lot of stress
Hmm.
in people, and I was one of the victims of that. And so when you think about any technology, technology itself is never harmful, it's never nefarious in itself, but the humans who use it, they use it for nefarious purposes, maybe knowingly, unknowingly. So I said, okay, AI is a powerful technology that can help shape our thoughts. So why can't we use the same technology to help open up people's minds and help them see what is the potential they have in their life, help them reach some meditative states? Because another thing that happened was, like, meditation saved my life. When I talk to people about meditation, they're like, "Oh, I don't have time. My mind is not still enough." So I was like, "Okay, then you should meditate even more." But I know that's not going to happen. So then, having done research on AI and all that, I also came across methods on how AI can be used to get you to experience a meditative state
Mm.
almost. And then, so all of these things combined now is my work now, using AI. Because at helping people open up their mind at an individual level can also be scaled at an organizational level, business level, community level. So
Hmm.
what we now do is, in our company, we use all this knowledge and help people really leverage the full power of AI. Because I see people are just scratching the surface of AI right now,
Mm.
just using it to write content. But if you go deeper, it can actually impact how we think, how we take action in the world, how we serve people. A lot of these very deep and profound implications of AI is what we implement for businesses.
That's wonderful. Yeah, and I think to me this is intriguing. I look back and I feel like I'm an implementer of AI, but the reality is I haven't even been involved with it for more than a year at this
Mhm.
point. I feel like the world has changed massively in such a short period of time. I mean,
Mhm.
what do you see? I already love where you're going with this, but where do you see AI fitting into the world going forward? If we fast forward, let's say 5 years, because it's moving so fast.
Yeah, yeah. See, I'll give you an example. 5 years is a long time, as you said. First, let's address that. So, AI is going to be as instrumental and essential as fire or electricity.
Hmm.
Okay. So, let me repeat that again. If you can imagine your life without fire or electricity or any activity that you do in your life, then you can imagine your life without AI. That is
Hmm.
how profound this technology is. Regarding the time frame, so AI is estimated, it is going to add about $10 trillion to the world economy by 2030.
Hmm.
Okay. So the current world economy yearly output is $96 trillion. So
Hmm.
more than 10% of the total world's wealth is going to be added by AI in the next 7 years.
Hmm.
And this has happened before as well. Like, technology moves so fast. So I'll give you an example of that. In 1995, it was the first time I logged on to the internet.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And in 1998, 3 years later, if I did not have an email address, I
Oh,
could
yeah.
not apply for an entry level job, right?
I totally, yeah, I'm in the same world. We must be pretty
Yeah.
close in age because I started working for Fidelity Investments in 1995, same as you. And I remember we had just literally months before I got there, they had set up the first web page at
Yeah, yeah,
fidelity.com. And
yeah.
it was horrible. It was just like a one pager
Mm.
where you could click to like a PDF document or something like that.
Yeah,
And within 5 years, we were doing financial plans online, and it just massively changed so quickly.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. So that's where we are. But the only difference this time around is it's 10 or 10, maybe like a magnitude times faster and more impactful than the internet now.
Mm.
Because what it will do is human civilization and capitalist societies are based on our cognitive abilities, how fast we can think and come up with solutions.
Mm.
But now with AI, you cannot compete at the cognitive level. You cannot think fast enough or accurate enough. Like
Yeah.
Einstein, I believe, had an IQ of 170. Today, AI has IQ of 1,000.
Yeah.
So you cannot compete with that. So that's where we are going, because it will start to break down our reliance on our cognitive ability and force us to empathize with other people and listen to other people to understand what they need and then use AI to solve those problems.
It's interesting too, because from a relational standpoint, I'm actually taking a course through MIT, and it's heavily math focused. And so there were some concepts I just wasn't getting. And I would go back and I'd watch and I'd watch and I'd watch the videos, and it just wasn't coming around to me. And it was interesting because I posed the answer, or I posed a question to ChatGPT. And I was like, okay, here's the question I'm being asked. Help me find the answer. Well, quite frankly, it was a better teacher than the class that I was getting it from, because not only did it doesn't just give you the answer, it gave a very detailed and expletive answer of this is why and this is it and here's all the steps and everything else. So it's interesting how it can learn, and it can be a really good teacher.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. You can see in that narrative that you shared with me how AI was able to enhance your mind,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so if you do that at a scale, at a societal level, and it can teach you new skills, imagine the
Mhm.
impact it can have, right?
Sure. Well, and the fact that it has the ability to look at every piece of information that's ever existed on this planet.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
when you compare that to a professor who, yes, they are an expert in their area, but they don't have the ability to access everything in the world and come up with an answer or come up with an explanation of why that you would do it this way. So it's intriguing to me. I think from my own world, I see how things have changed. I initially used it very much as a content creation tool, and I've seen how it's expanded my world even more and how different ways I could use it. I use it now when I'm making real estate decisions and things along those lines to say, okay, here's three different options, here's the details of them. What should the decision process, or think through the decision process with me?
exactly. Yeah, that's just so amazing, because there are only handful of people like you who you belong to a category of innovators,
Hmm.
and there are only 2 to 3% of the human population that dive into these new concepts, because
Mhm.
let's face it, there is so much fear and confusion about AI out
Yeah.
there, right? It takes a lot of, how can I say, almost a lot of courage to get over all that misinformation and say, okay, I'm going to try it. So what you
Mhm.
are doing is fantastic, like using it to your advantage and reaping the benefits of that. I wish
Mhm.
more people were doing that. In fact, that is one of the reasons why I go on these podcasts, to
Yeah.
tell people don't give in to the fear, if you use it.
Don't yeah, don't people complained about machines and
Yeah,
that the Luddites in England in the 1700s, early 1800s, that thought factory machines were going to get rid of the working class. No, it just made
yeah,
it easier
yeah,
for
yeah, exactly.
easier and safer for them to do a lot of the stuff that they were doing, and it was much more
Absolutely.
productive. And I think in the world of the mind, I see AI being a mind enhancer in a lot of cases. But the other part that I've learned with it is it doesn't always have the right answer. So you really, people think that, oh, well, I can just put the question in and it'll answer the question. It doesn't always have the right answer. So you better have an idea of where you're going with it And does that answer look right when you're asking a question of it?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, I tell people again, AI is such a powerful thing. Imagine if you come across a wise professor who has multiple PhDs, and he or she can answer any of your questions. What will you ask them? That's what how you need to see ChatGPT and AI as being this wise person. But if you ask a wrong question, you'll get the wrong answer.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. Well, I always love the conspiracy theorists that have theorized that the reason that it gives certain answers is because it was programmed a certain way. I think they are missing the boat in a lot of cases because, yes, it was programmed a certain way, but it learns on its own and it
Yeah.
learns the world around it. Yes, it might not have been programmed that way, but it will eventually learn and it will eventually analyze, correct?
Well, this is a very interesting question. Yes and no, because people
Okay.
say it was programmed certain way and it should be bias free and it should not have any like any preferences, anything like that. But at the end of the day, anything that we do in our life as humans is going to be biased because humans are biased. We cannot help but being biased because we like familiarity. We like to feel comfortable in situations and with people and all that. So when AI collects the data from the world, it is collecting that biased data because that is our
Yeah.
human behavior, right? So it is, in a way, puristically speaking, it's not biased. But then
Mm.
once the model is ready, they have to add some protective measures so that AI cannot be misused. I'll
Yeah.
give you an example. Okay. So I was talking to a very famous film director just recently, and he was trying to write a script for a like a horror movie, some sort of a thriller. And
Mm.
he was talking to AI about, okay, how will Jack the Ripper murder somebody? I want a script of that. And then AI said, I cannot do that for you, sorry. And he was getting frustrated. Why is it not doing that? So I was like, okay, if you think that it's okay for AI to give you all these details, how about if somebody said, okay, help me build a nuclear bomb?
Yeah.
And then he was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's bad. Yeah.
You
So,
know,
that along those lines though, do you feel like there at this point in time that there does need to be some further curbs on it so that it doesn't get used in the wrong way going forward? I know there's been a lot of concern in the industry and some of the biggest minds in the industry have said along this lines.
see, the thing is, anything that humans build will be misused. That's
Mm,
just the fact. That's just the fact. The thing is, of course, we need regulations. Of course, we need safeguards. And this is an evolving technology. No doubt those will come into play.
yeah.
But we also have to think about humanity has become the most powerful species on this planet
Mm,
because not because 5% of the people are bad and they use technology for bad purposes, but 95% of the people are good and they use
mm,
technology for good purposes. And so no matter what 5% of the population does, we will always find a solution to fix that problem. So
mm.
it doesn't have to, like, imagine a car can be used to run over people, or you
Yeah.
can go and get groceries and make your life easier. So that is not to say a car is a bad invention or cannot be used or whatever. There has to be regulations, rules, all of that stuff, and those are coming in, as we speak. Singapore has passed a legislation. Europe is working on one. US is working on one. But apart from regulations, we just need to know that humans as a species, they use technology for good overall, and that's just the way it is. Yeah.
Yeah. And the reality is, it is becoming, I think, literally every marketing program that I have that I use in my business has brought in an AI component to it. And it's in a lot of cases, it's been an amazing enhancement. When I'm sitting there facing a blank page, it's nice to be able to
Mm-hmm.
put in some parameters and go, boom, okay, now I've got something to work with. And yes, I'm probably still going to go in and edit that or whatever. I actually did a course for Udemy on how to write a book using AI. And it's once again, it's not something that I see you can't just go in and say, hey, write a book about X, boom, and then go. It just
Yeah,
won't
yeah,
do it. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
it kind of stops and goes, no, I'm not going to do that. Fleshing out chapters or getting an outline, I find it to be exceptionally good at. So I just see the world being improved. And I agree with you. I think it is. I think when we look back 5 years from today, it's going to be a point of, can you use fire? Can you, yeah, can you live without fire? Can you live without an internet connection at
yeah.
that point? So
Exactly.
I think it's totally different. So in your world, what's really new that you're working on for the future, if you're willing to share?
Well, it's a very first step, infancy of AI right now. So
Okay.
just like you mentioned, Fidelity had this ugly web in 1995. That's where we are with AI right now, right?
Okay.
So people are trying to figure out, how do I use AI for my benefit? How do I make more money? How do I grow my business? And those are the things where we are going into businesses, medium sized, large scale businesses, and some small scale businesses like, like yourself as well, where
Mm.
people are thinking forward and saying, okay, I know AI is coming. It's like a tsunami that is approaching. How do I get ahead? And then what we do is we sit down with them and we say, tell me, what is the biggest problem, or where is the most of your time being consumed? Where is most of the money being produced from? How do we now break it down and use AI to speed things up? So a couple of examples will be working with one company, and what they do is they provide human resources to their clients. So they have a team of about 200, and their goal is to double that within the next year or two.
Mm.
Then we said, where are they spending most of their time, these 200 people? And now we break it down and we start to shave off, like, okay, 1 minute here, 2 minutes here, using AI. And
Mm.
now we are on track to double their capacity without hiring even a single more employee.
Huh.
Right, so these are the kind of things that you can start doing. And it's no different than start using internet for your business, start using smartphone apps for your business.
Mm.
Technology always enhances your capacity to do more,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, and if you use it correctly, I think the other part of it is using it to eliminate those repetitive tasks that your
Yeah,
employees are doing that are not the best use of their time. Let's use it to do those repetitive tasks because it never
yeah.
gets bored. It doesn't ask for a raise because it's not being fulfilled or whatever. It
Exactly,
can just
exactly.
keep doing those repetitive tasks over and over again, which is
Yeah.
fantastic.
And get smarter over time. Yeah.
I'm super excited for the world coming up. I think you've assuaged a lot of fears that people have about AI. And like I said, I think the most important thing, by my nature, I'm an experimenter. I think for people that haven't tried to use AI, one, everything that you have, whether it's Google or whether it's Chat GPT or whatever, I would say just start, testing it,
Yeah.
experiment with it. That was a lot of what I did, was just kind of experiment with it and see what it would do, and see where, if you're not very explicit about what you want, it's going to give you not a really great answer. I think one of the things I learned was, I think, and this may be, I don't know if it's with other platforms like this, but ChatGPT especially, I have unique terminology in my business that I use that isn't terminology that's available in the world. It's my own take. It's my unique language that I use. And I actually had to have one specific chat where I built, it's probably several 100,000 words at this point. And that's basically its resource field. When I ask a question or when I'm trying to do something, it's all within that one chat because we've built that together. I think that was
Mm.
something that I experimented with and found, because then every time I started a new chat, it was like it had never heard the stuff that I had done before.
Yeah, yeah. Fantastic. These are the things that when people start doing now, you start to open up your mind, you start to see the possibilities,
Hmm.
and then your mind automatically starts to connect more dots. Okay, where else can I use it? What else can I
Yeah.
do with this, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I am just super excited, and I thank you for coming on today to talk about that. So let's transition to the fast five questions.
Sure.
Ready?
Yeah.
All right. So, first question, you wake up in the morning, business is gone. You have $500 in your pocket, a laptop computer, place to live. What are you going to do first?
Well, I'll start reaching out to my network, start asking them what kind of problems they are facing today, and start
Mhm.
giving them help to solve those problems without any expectations of any money back. Because I know that if I provide enough value, it will convert
Yeah.
dollars into my account.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I think this is one of the more common answers to questions that I get. It most often is, I'm going to reach out to my network. And I think that's the important thing that people need to understand is you have a natural network. Even if you're not out there in business for yourself, you have a network of people that
Yeah,
you can
yeah,
reach out to and say, hey, here's my situation. Here's what it is. Here's my situation. What challenges are you facing or that you're seeing out in the world? And then how can I help you fix those?
yeah, yeah. Exactly, exactly.
What is the biggest business mistake you've ever made?
The biggest business mistake, I believe business is all about people. And my biggest mistakes are my hires that didn't work out.
Okay.
And I kept giving them more time because I get emotionally attached to them and I don't want to let them go. But at some point, I should have realized, okay, it's for their own good as well that we part ways sooner. That has been a painful lesson for sure.
As one of my guests, I think it was a couple of years ago, you can't have eagles if you hire turkeys. No matter what you think of them and how much you love them, it's just not going to work.
Yeah, yeah,
And sometimes it's the best thing for both of you to say, you know what? You're not happy. I'm not happy. Let's figure out how to make both of us happy at this
yeah,
point.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
What's a good book that you would recommend for our audience?
So there's a book called Principles of Work and Life by Ray Dalio. So
Okay.
Ray Dalio is one of the most successful hedge fund managers. And so his approach to building companies and even just humanity is fascinating. Like he basically has a concept of radical transparency
Mhm.
and he can call you out on your weaknesses and strengths. And it's a radical approach. So read it. And I think it had a big impact on me. Read it for yourself and see how you can implement it in your life and business.
I love it. What is a good tool that you use in your business every day that you might recommend for our audience?
We obviously use ChatGPT. We use a
Mm,
bunch of other AI tools. I don't recommend. So, okay, so here is the situation. A lot of people ask me what tools do I use. We are
mm,
a software company, so we build our own tools for ourselves. But when I recommend to people, okay, what can they use? I will say go with the most reliable, the most stable tools, which is ChatGPT. If you
mm,
want to do something with video, with the images, use Midjourney or even ChatGPT has proper capabilities now.
mm.
And other than that, if you're looking for something specific, go with some company which is reputed because right now it's the wild west of AI. There's going to be millions and millions of AI tools that you may find fascinating, but how long are they going to stick around for your
Mhm.
business to rely on them? That is the
Yeah.
question. So think about going with larger, sort of more stable companies for now, but as things settle down, then you can start to venture into more sort of experimental, smaller tools.
Yeah, especially if you've got majority of the things that you're doing on that one main tool. Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
there's some things that can enhance that or can tweak whatever you have. Because I've done that with a few where I might create an article on ChatGPT and it wasn't the greatest, but take that and then throw it into another tool that can actually massage it a little bit more and get it a little bit farther down the road to where I can personally edit it at that point.
exactly,
I
exactly,
like that idea.
exactly. Yeah.
Last question. What is your definition of freedom?
I think freedom is, if you can do anything that you like with anyone that you like at anywhere you like in your life, I think that's true freedom. And inherently, everybody's running after that. But I think what happens is they think, oh, I need to make certain amount of money before I can do that.
Mm,
But if they just flip that on his head and just say, I'm going to do that regardless, whether I have money in the bank or not, it
mm.
just a radical shift happens because the money starts to
Yeah,
follow you almost.
that's it's one of the principles of our Freedom Day method that we use is the second step in the process is to actually build a bucket list and
Yeah,
build that bucket list and then choose just 2 or 3 things on the bucket list and figure out a way to make the money to do those 2 or 3 things. And it's that
Exactly.
little shift of not postponing the reward, but giving yourself the permission to have the reward, then figuring out how to get to it. I think
Exactly.
that's the way that you flip it on its head. So absolutely, I totally agree with you where you're going with that, because
Yeah.
it's that mind shift. And I think it was the mind shift you made in your own personal life as well, of saying, you know what, I'm not happy. The things around me are not working. What do I have to do to shift those things around me so that the rest of my life works? So
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
good on you, man. Well, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it. It was a wonderful conversation. I could talk for hours with you about this stuff. Thank you for your time and your help to our audience and advice to the audience.
Absolutely. I'm glad to be of service.
Well, folks, make sure wherever you're listening to this, watching this, that you subscribe to the channel. Love an upvote. If you like the show, hit an upvote. Make sure you give us a comment too. Let us know that you're out there and what questions you have. And we do these shows twice a week for you, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So make sure that you are keeping track of this. Make sure you're subscribed, and we will see you guys back here the very next time.
All in you. Everything you